in your poll and many other polls that have come out around the country. People are sick and tired of COVID and the impacts on the economy. Life is going to get better for people across the country, and that this is part of his effort to finish the job, part of it, in getting the pandemic under control, making sure we are addressing rising costs, bringing costs down for the American people.
The White House doing damage control yesterday as devastating new poll numbers continue to hurt Joe Biden's Build Back Better agenda. Bad sign for his party ahead of the midterms as 51% of American registered voters say they would vote for a Republican candidate for Congress if elections were held today. Their confidence shaken by inflation, among other things, surging to a 31-year high. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's got a brand new book out. It is called Republican Rescue, Saving the Party from the Truth Deniers, Conspiracy Theorists, and the Dangerous Policies of Joe Biden. He joins us live. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning. How are you, Steve?
You know, when you look at those numbers, it would seem that the Republicans are on the verge during the midterms of taking back the House and maybe the Senate.
I think we are. I think if we talk in these campaigns to people's concerns, we talk about tomorrow, and that's what a lot about the book is about, is saying, how do we talk to people about the next year and the next year and what we as Republicans can do to both stop Joe Biden and what he's trying to do, and to put forward a positive agenda for them. If we do that, I think we're going to do very, very well.
Well, I think one of the main things that, that is really messing up the Biden agenda is the price of food. Everybody knows. Tyson Foods raising the price of chicken about 20%, 33% for beef, and pork close to 40%. When people go to the grocery store, particularly around Thanksgiving, they're going to look at those prices and they're going to go, hey, what the heck happened?
That's exactly right. And the White House is completely tone deaf to this. You hear people say, well, they have plenty of money. People have more money than they used to. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. And I said this the other day. My wife went to the supermarket, bought like a big pack of toilet paper, $29. $29. I mean, people are going to be and are up in arms about this, and they blame Joe Biden for it because it's his policies that did it.
I bought a can of Campbell's soup 2 days ago in a very popular New Jersey grocery store. It was $2.
Yeah.
For a little can of Campbell's soup.
No.
It's not. And then when you look at the answers the White House is giving on things like that, and the fact that Joe Biden had a virtual summit with the president of China, never brought up COVID. How do you do that?
You don't bring up COVID. You don't bring up the Olympics. I mean, look, we have serious problems with China, who is a serious adversary of ours. And if we don't start getting tough on them, they're going to walk all over us. They're going to misread signals about Taiwan. This is going to lead to incredible conflict for the United States and for our people. And Joe Biden needs to get tough today with China. We don't need to be throwing bouquets at dictators.
Right. So what you say in your book, essentially, is for the Republicans to win, to rescue the Republican Party, is simply stick to the issues and give the American public some alternatives to Joe Biden's policies.
That's exactly right, Steve. It is to lay out for them on the economy, on crime, on education, on taxes and spending, what our vision is for the future. And it's a conservative vision and one that's a real contrast to what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are trying to do. And the worst thing a politician can do is to run one way and govern another. Joe Biden said he's going to be a uniter. He's going to moderate the country, bring it together. He has governed like he's left of FDR.
Right.
And independents who voted for him last November really have buyer's remorse now, and they're very angry. And you saw some of them speaking out in Virginia and New Jersey just 2 weeks ago.
Throughout your book, you talk about, Donald Trump has been a friend of yours for over
20 years.
Over 20 years. Right now, what is going on between the two of you right now? Because I see some back and forth. You'll say something, he'll say something.
Look, we're still friends, and we're always going to be friends. And the kind of friendship we've always had is the friendship of peers, where you tell each other the truth. So when he says something, or I say something he doesn't like, he tells me, and I do the same thing. And we've done that for 20 years. That's not going to change. The president, look, for people who support Donald Trump, the line begins behind me. I was the first one, as you know, to come out and support him, chaired his transition.
He asked you to be the chief of staff.
Right. Offered me chief of staff, offered me 2 different cabinet positions, ran debate prep, played Hillary Clinton. You should see some of the Hillary Clinton routines I did. Played Joe Biden in this debate prep. So we have been friends for a long time, but friends tell each other the truth. And all I'm saying in this book is we have to stop looking backwards. If we want to be a winning party again, we got to look forwards and go after Joe Biden. We should not be attacking other Republicans. What we should be doing is going after the Democrats. They are the ones who are trying to ruin this country.
So you say saving the party from truth deniers, conspiracy theorists, and then Joe Biden. Who are the truth deniers and the conspiracy theorists?
Well, I go through in the middle of the book things like QAnon and Pizzagate and birtherism. They were all conspiracy theories and things that were just untrue that take our party off course, Steve. We don't have to talk about that stuff. We should be talking about Joe Biden and 6% inflation, Joe Biden and the way he disgraced us in Afghanistan, Joe Biden and the way we're seeing our country being embarrassed around the world, and our people at home being taught things in our schools that make us not proud to be Americans. If Republicans talk about that, we're going to win the House and the Senate and then win the White House in 24. We talk about all this other garbage, people are going to think we're not fit to serve.
Speaking of 2024, should we pencil you in?
No, not at the moment, but I'll say this, I'm thinking about it, and at the end of 22, we'll make a decision. Anybody who tries to decide what the race is going to look like now, and not smart.
So what happens in 2022? You mean if the Republicans have the House, have the Senate, that would be a yes?
No, I think you're closer to it. You can understand the political climate a little bit more. And plus, I'm going to turn 60 next year. Every year is a gift, right? So you see where you are, where your family is, and then you make a decision.
All right. Chris Christie, it's a great book. You can tell that you actually wrote it. It's called Republican Rescue, Saving the Party from Truth Deniers, Conspiracy Theorists, and the Dangerous Policies of Joe Biden. Sir, thank you very much.
Steve, thanks for having me.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.